I used to tell women a pixie cut was low maintenance, and I was lying to their faces. 7 mistakes show up over and over when women over 60 make the jump to short hair. And most of them have nothing to do with the cut itself. Today I'm walking through all 7, what they look like, why they happen, and the exact fix for each one. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50, so you get real results, fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1. The length that's actually aging your face. Most women think a pixie needs to be short everywhere to look done. That's the first thing that goes wrong, and it's rarely the client's fault. It's what the stylist defaults to when nobody asks for anything different. A pixie cut sheared uniformly short all over ignores the fact that after 60, the face has softened at the jaw and lost some lift at the cheekbone. Short all over doesn't hide that. It exposes it. Here's what happens when you see a photo of yourself in that cut, and something feels off but you can't name it. That's the recognition moment. It's not that you look bad. It's that the cut is fighting your bone structure instead of working with it. The fix is length variation, specifically longer through the crown and a soft fringe that breaks along the cheekbone rather than stopping above it. Ask your stylist for graduated length building height at the crown, with the perimeter left slightly longer around the face. That phrase matters because pixie alone tells a stylist nothing about where the length lives. The height at the crown lifts the whole face upward, visually. The longer perimeter near the cheek softens the jaw transition instead of announcing it. What changes isn't subtle. Women tell me constantly that after this adjustment, people ask if they've lost weight, or if they're glowing, or if they did something different with their skin. Nobody says nice haircut. Because a great haircut on a mature face doesn't read as a haircut, it reads as looking well. There's a woman I talked to last spring who'd worn the same short all over pixie for 11 years because it was easy. One adjustment to build height at the crown and lengthen the front pieces, and she said her daughter didn't recognize her in a photo for a full 3 seconds. That's not an exaggeration for the camera. That's what the adjustment does. Before, uniform short length all over, no crown height, no face framing pieces. After, built up crown height, longer graduated perimeter framing the cheekbone. Same woman, same bone structure, completely different read on her face. That length mistake is the most common one. But there's a second mistake that happens the moment she leaves the salon chair. And it has nothing to do with the cut at all. Part 2. Skipping the root lift step at home. Here's something most women don't know when they get a pixie cut for the first time. The cut only does about half the work. The other half is a 2-minute step at the root that almost nobody is shown how to do, and skipping it is the second mistake on this list. Without it, even a beautifully cut pixie falls flat by mid-morning and starts looking thin instead of textured. You wash it, you style it fresh, and by 10 in the morning it's sitting close to the scalp again, and you start wondering if the cut was even right for you. It was right. The root lift step was just missing. The fix: a dime-size amount of root lifting mousse applied directly at the scalp on damp hair, then dried with your head tipped forward so gravity works against the direction of fall instead of with it. Finish upright with a diffuser-style low airflow pass at the crown only. That's the whole step. It's genuinely 2 minutes, but it's the 2 minutes that decides whether the cut holds its shape for 12 hours or 4. What this changes is how the whole cut reads for the entire day, not just at 9 a.m. right after you've styled it. A pixie with root lift photographs well at a lunch outing, at an afternoon errand run, at dinner. Without it, you're really only styled for the first hour, and everyone assumes that's just what short hair does after 60. It isn't. It's what short hair does without this one step. I heard from a woman who'd been getting the same cut every 6 weeks for 2 years and finally mentioned to a different stylist that hers went flat by noon every single day. The stylist asked what she used at the root. She said nothing. She just dried it. That was the whole problem, solved in one appointment. That one's a styling mistake. The next one is a color mistake, and it's the one that ages a pixie faster than almost anything else on this list. Part 3. The color choice that fights a shortcut. A pixie cut has almost no length to soften a hard color line, and that's exactly why the third mistake is so common. Going flat, single process, uniform color on a cut this short. On long hair, A single flat color blends into itself over inches of length. On a pixie, there's maybe 2 inches of hair between root and end, so any color that isn't doing something gets exposed immediately, especially at the temples and part line. You color it the way you always have, and something about it reads harder or more artificial than it used to. That's not your skin changing. That's the cut removing the length that used to hide flat color. The fix is asking specifically for lowlights and a few face framing highlights, not an all-over process. 2 to 3 tonal variations placed mostly around the crown and front pieces does what length used to do. It breaks up the color so it moves instead of sitting flat. If you're transitioning to gray, this also blends the growing in silver with the remaining pigment instead of creating a visible line at the root, which on a pixie is almost impossible to hide since there's no length to grow past it comfortably. The result shows up the moment light hits your hair outdoors. Flat single process color on a pixie looks the same in every light, dull under fluorescence, flat in daylight. Multi-tonal color moves with the light, catches brightness at the crown, and reads as texture rather than as dyed hair. That distinction is the entire difference between a cut that looks intentional and one that looks like an oversight. A woman I spoke with had been covering her gray with the same flat brown for 4 years on a cut this short, and she said every photo made her hair look like a helmet. Lowlights and a few lighter pieces around the front later. She said it was the first time in years a photo of her hair looked like actual hair. Before, flat single process color, no tonal variation. After, lowlights and face framing pieces adding movement and light. Color solved. But there's a fourth mistake sitting underneath all of this, and it's one almost nobody mentions out loud. Part 4. Sticking with the first cut forever, and ignoring your ears. Nobody tells you this part, so I will. A pixie cut is not a one-time decision, it's a maintenance relationship, and the fourth mistake is treating the very first version of the cut as the final one. Hair grows in different directions as it grows out, cowlicks shift, and what worked at week 1 can start growing awkwardly by week 5. Especially around the ears and nape, which is exactly where most women stop paying attention. You go in for the first cut, love it, and then just keep going back asking for the same thing, every time. Except the same shape stops being the same shape once new growth changes how it sits. The fix is a check-in every 4 weeks specifically for the perimeter around the ears and nape, even if the top and crown can stretch to 6. Say this exact phrase. Keep the ear and nape line clean, let the top grow if it needs to. This splits the maintenance into 2 separate timelines instead of treating the whole head as one cut that either needs a full redo or nothing at all. It also means you're never stuck re-explaining the whole style from scratch. You're just cleaning the edges. This is the difference between a pixie that always looks fresh and one that looks like it's growing out, even 3 days after a cut. Clean ear and nape lines read as intentional structure. A grown-out perimeter reads as neglect, even on a great cut. That one small maintenance habit is often the actual difference between women who keep a pixie for years looking sharp, and women who abandon it after 6 months because it stopped working. A longtime client of a stylist I spoke with kept the exact same top length for 3 years, and just came in monthly for edge cleanup. Everyone assumed she got a full cut every time. She didn't. She just never let the frame around her face get messy. That's the maintenance mistake. Now for the last 3. And one of them is about something you're probably wearing right now without a second thought. Part 5. The collar mistake, the product overload, and the fringe nobody adjusts. The 5th mistake is wearing high, bulky collars with a pixie cut, turtlenecks with thick ribbing, high crew necks that stack fabric right at the jaw. On long hair this barely registers because hair covers that whole zone. On a pixie, your neck and jawline are fully visible, and a thick collar creates a second hard line right where your haircut already created one, which visually shortens your whole neck and face together. The fix isn't abandoning modest, covered necklines, it's choosing ones with a flatter profile. A structured blazer with a lower, flatter collar, or a fine knit mock neck rather than a chunky ribbed one, keeps the coverage you want without stacking bulk against a short haircut. The visual line stays clean instead of doubled. The 6th mistake is product overload. Piling on gel, wax and spray in the same routine because short hair needs more product. It's the opposite. Too much product on short hair clumps at the ends and creates visible product buildup instead of texture, especially under bright light or on camera. 1 lightweight styling cream at the root for lift, nothing heavy layered on top, is enough. More product on a pixie usually reads as less finished, not more. The 7th and final mistake is never adjusting the fringe as it grows, letting it drop straight into the eyes instead of having it reshaped to sweep to the side. A fringe that's constantly pushed out of the eyes reads as maintenance you're fighting daily. A fringe swept and textured at an angle reads as styled on purpose. Ask for a side-swept fringe with texturized ends, and have it checked at every trim. What all 7 of these mistakes share is that none of them are really about whether a pixie suits you. They're about the small decisions around the cut, the collar, the product amount, the fringe angle, the color, the root lift, the maintenance schedule, the length distribution. Fix those 7 things and the exact same cut reads completely differently. A woman I know went through every one of these adjustments over about 3 months. New length distribution, root lift, tonal color, regular ear and nape trims, a flatter collar, less product and a swept fringe. She told me it was the same haircut on paper the whole time. It just finally looked like it. You now know exactly why a pixie cut can look tired at 60 and exactly what fixes it. Length distribution, root lift, tonal color, a real maintenance schedule, the right collar, the right amount of product, and a fringe that's actually shaped instead of just growing wild. That's not luck. That's technique, and now you have it. Which one of these 7 were you doing without even realizing it? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Next week I'm covering the haircut mistake that makes fine hair look even thinner, and how one section change fixes it completely. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.